Welcome to our Self-Sabotage Be Gone workshop. I'm Rachel Wood. I am a relationship and life coach and founder of Creative Pathways Coaching. How do we deal with self-sabotage? The first part of identifying why you are doing what you are doing. So this is the first part you need to do. To get an idea, and that means, going within a bit, and doing lots and lots of self-reflecting. Looking at some of the maybe ugly feelings you might have towards yourself and towards others, both now and in the past. This means being easy on yourself, forgiving yourself for both past and present behaviours. Then you really need to start to get clear about what you are striving for is really what you actually want. Sometimes self-sabotage can be about what other people want for you, not what you want. So if you go along with what they want, but then the behaviours come up within you that are unconsciously sabotaging these efforts. So when you begin to look within for why you do what you do, you might find that what you think you want may be not really what you want, but only adhering to other people's expectations. Does that confuse you there? I'll give you an example of this. I had a client a few years ago who was studying to be a doctor. He was very smart and came from a family of doctors and psychologists. He got good marks at school and was halfway through his medical degree when he began to feel fatigued and depressed. As one would expect, he attributed all this to the stress that was in front of him, but then he began to develop a pot addiction, and then he crashed his car. And he was hanging out with friends who were considered bad by his parents. It took a while with working with him for him to actually begin to see that he was consistently self-sabotaging his schooling efforts because he realized he didn't want to be a doctor. He loved working with his hands and enjoyed the times he spent with his grandfather doing woodwork. His grandfather had been a cabinet maker, and this was what he wanted. This meant that he, in the end, had to tell his parents he wasn't going any further in his studies and began an apprenticeship with a mate of his grandfather's instead. It took a lot of work and bravery to get to this point, but suddenly the addictions all dropped away, the depression lifted. He felt energized and excited for what was in front of him. Do any of these examples have relevance for you at all? Can you see yourself in any of these? Let's take this a little step further in our relationships. The defenses and the critical inner voice we carry over time often leads us to recreate dynamics from our early life into our adult life. We tend to play out negative, old behavioural patterns with people that we become close to. We can often form self-sabotaging relationships by indulging in our inner critic or our self-limiting thoughts and fail to challenge these thoughts or attitudes. So, for example, if we felt abandoned as a child, we may have a tendency to become insecure in our adult relationships. We may tell ourselves things like, how can I trust him or her? He or she is eventually going to leave me, so I shouldn't bother getting too close anyway. If we had a parent or a caregiver who acted overbearingly or controlling or even manipulative, we may feel easily suffocated by our partner. We may think thoughts like, she is too needy, too controlling, too domineering. Why can't they just leave me alone? Maybe I'd be better off on my own anyway. I just can't handle being too close to someone. Have you had these thoughts before in a relationship? I know I have, having had a domineering and controlling parent. So our inner critic and our self-limiting thoughts encourage us to act out our defenses in all areas of our life, and particularly in the mostly in our close relationships, so our intimate relationships. They often hold us back from getting what we want, instilling fear within us that we will be hurt in the same ways we were hurt before. We may even choose intimate partners who play into these old early dynamics, recreating past scenarios that help us reinforce the negative identity we continue to hold about ourselves and about others too. So, we can't change our past experiences, yet as adults we can identify the self-sabotaging thoughts that we internalized and consciously choose to act against them instead. When we fall victim to our critical inner voice and listen to its directives, we often engage in self-limiting and self-sabotaging behaviours that hurt us in our daily life. So to change this, once you become clear what the reason is for your self-sabotaging, you can then begin to have a choice as to what to do. You need to learn to select your thoughts, or to select your thoughts just in the same way you select your clothes every day. This is a power you can cultivate and nurture with time. Identify the thoughts that are undoing your progress and pivot away from these thoughts each and every time for a more positive thought. Now, this takes time and practice, but it can be very effective. Once we know where our self-sabotaging thoughts come from, we can start to differentiate from the negative identity we've cast upon ourselves. We can become familiar with our self-limiting beliefs and our inner critic and begin to notice when it starts to seep into our thoughts. We start to think, oh yeah, here we go again. I recognize that voice. As we do this, we can start to recognize the way in which we act that we don't like or respect about ourselves. For example, we may often feel a sense of shame with other people, so as a consequence we hold ourselves back socially. We could start instead to push ourselves gradually with time to be more social, more outward and open with others. Slowly but surely, and don't jump straight in, just do it slowly. So changing these self-sabotaging behaviours will create a certain amount of anxiety because it actually means challenging deeply ingrained, old and familiar attitudes that we have long held about ourselves and the world. But differentiating from these behaviours is essential to leading a happy life. So the initial anxiety will be worth it, I promise you. So let's recap here. Step 1. This involves separating from the destructive beliefs, attitudes and thoughts we internalize and hold about ourselves and others based on painful early life experiences. So really separating from those. Step 2 requires us to actually separate from the negative traits, values and beliefs in our parents or caregivers that we've taken on as our own. Step 3 involves challenging those destructive defenses, adaptations or coping mechanisms that we've created to deal with the pain we've experienced growing up. These adaptations may have helped us in childhood, but very often hinder us as adults. For example, if we were used to being let down or rejected as a child, we may have formed a defense that shuts us off from wanting or expecting much from others. Although this lowering of our expectations may have seemed to have cushioned us from getting hurt as kids, this same defense can keep us from actually trusting or getting close to people that we want to as adults. By employing differentiation when approaching these self-limiting beliefs and thoughts, we begin to develop our own sense of what our unique values, ideals and beliefs are. Once we've separated from the negative overlays from our past, we can uncover who we really are as an individual. So actually getting to know us as an individual. Getting to know your self-limiting beliefs and thoughts can assist you in helping you to avoid self-sabotaging relationships. We can start to act against our inner critic and break free from our usual defenses that no longer serve us as adults. And that means facing our past. That is an important part of this inner process. Once we familiarize ourselves with our defenses, we can differentiate from our self-sabotaging behaviors and begin to live a more liberated life in which we are powerful and in control of our destiny. Does it take a lot of work? Yes. But there are also other ways to deal with specific self-sabotaging behaviors that can provide quicker results. Hypnotherapy is very useful in this situation where you're trying to rid yourself of an unwanted behavior or create a behavior, for instance. Examples included with this are giving up smoking, reducing unhealthy food consumption, and much, much more. Just make sure you find a qualified and experienced hypnotherapist, preferably someone who has been referred. This can be a little expensive but effective. Another way you can create quicker results is through suggestions through meditation. This is a form of hypnotherapy, but you can tape your own voice reading out the meditation script. Then you meditate every day using this meditation consisting of your own voice. If you're interested in this, Creative Pathways Coaching offer these types of meditation scripts as part of the manifestation, meditations and journaling toolkits. Check them out on our website under M&M products. These are at a very low price and a great way to begin eliminating your self-sabotaging and self-limiting beliefs straight away. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe below to see future ones. I post a new one every Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, depending on your time zone. And remember, you can book a coaching package with me or check out my other resources on my website and subscribe to Creative Pathways Facebook and Instagram. All links are in the description below. And I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.